Welcome to the Earlham College Podcast. I'm Nathan Mynatt, a senior global management major. In today's episode of the Earlham College Podcast, I talked to the director of the Center of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Gene Hambrick. I'm here with Gene Hambrick. He's an Earlham alumni from the class of 1973, and he's also an Earlham College professor. He's also one of my favorite professors to talk to. And here's Gene, and would you like to tell us a little bit about your position here at Earlham?
Sure, but before I go too far, it always makes me nervous when the students say I'm one of their favorite professors. I'm not sure if they're trying to set me up or whatever, but the feeling is mutual. Nate's a really good student. What do I do here now? I'm the director for the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, and I also teach in the Global Management Program. My formal title is Executive in Residence, so I teach a couple of courses, Executive Entrepreneurial Marketing, and also I teach the Innovation Lab. That's innovation with an E because it's Earlham, so that's basically what I do.
Yeah, could you go in a little bit of detail about the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation and why it was established?
Sure. So if you think about it, Earlham is a very good liberal arts school, top tier liberal arts school. But as we started to look at the Generation Z students, which Nate is one of them, we started to see that just the liberal arts, unlike when I was a student, is not enough. And so students increasingly are saying we need experiential learning, we need hands-on learning. So my center is actually set up to take theory to practice, meaning all the ideas that the students have regarding entrepreneurship and innovation, they can actually do. Notice it doesn't say business and entrepreneurship or business and innovation, because good ideas, entrepreneurship and innovation can come from any major. Yeah. The other thing, they brought me in, part of my background, I retired at age 48 from Corning. I have a background in the real world, quote unquote, and so I've done most of the things that a lot of the students want to do in supply chain or organizational behavior or marketing, and so I also teach executive entrepreneurial innovation and also the innovation lab as well.
Yeah, I remember last year when I came to you to talk about my painting business idea, which that helped a lot. And then also any problems that I have, I usually come to you about. So.
Yeah. And we have an open door policy, but that's the fun part of the job, watching people come up with their ideas that they have a passion about and then saying, hey, have you thought about, because hope is not a plan. So have you thought about this, or what do the numbers look like? And so that's kind of what I do, free as a matter of fact. That's a good value proposition.
Yeah, so you touched on this a little bit, but how would you say the center is helping the student experience? And then also, is it only for students interested in entrepreneurship, or would you say that there's more to it than just that?
Great questions. So the center is set up to empower students to take away the most that they can from their Earlham experience, curricular and co-curricular. So I teach, of course, but then, as you said, sometimes people want to come in and talk about their ideas. So we have the Earlham Prize for Creative Capitalism, which is a business plan competition focused on social entrepreneurship. That really allows students to take those ideas and actually build a business plan, and they can pivot or proceed. And so that's why the center was set up. The other part of your question was,
or is it only for students interested in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, and so no, it's not just for entrepreneurship. It's also set up for people who want to be innovative, because innovation is the start of entrepreneurship, if you will. So the entrepreneurship piece mainly moves it toward more of a business model than just having an idea. We love ideas, that's the innovation part. So then I try to move it from the idea stage to, can you really make money at this?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. People are starting to talk more and more about the college's EPIC initiative and the Earlham program for integrative curriculum. What are some ways your center funds incredible opportunities for students?
Beautiful, well said. So my center specifically, I think you know the team that won the $1 million, the Hope Prize. Most people do. So I actually helped to fund that out of the funds that came from the Board of Trustees for EPIC. So they actually got a chance to travel to places like Boston, but they actually went to Kenya to build out their program. That takes money, which most of our students don't have. That came out of the funding. We also let students go away to conferences. So for example, a number of students have been to Harvard and done the Pan-African Conference to do networking, but to learn about in Africa opportunities for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
We also have a chapter called the Net Impact Chapter of Earlham. They host the Holt Prize, which is the $1 Million campaign, but they also go to conferences to learn more about how do you become a social entrepreneur, do networking with other students from other schools. So we fund that as well.
Yeah. Could you go into a little bit of detail about the group that won the $1 Million Prize?
Sure. And so this was, again, part of Net Impact. Every year, the Holt organization, Bill Clinton, and the Holt Institute have a theme. That year's theme was double the income of 10 million people by 2020, 2022. Double the income of 10 million people by 2022.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a big social impact.
Yeah.
And
sure.
if you do it well, you're going to win $1 million, right? So this team actually built out what we're calling an app, and it became the Uber of buses. That's what Bill Clinton said. The Uber of buses for buses in areas that had very chaotic logistics.
Yeah.
So how would you double the income of 10 million people with that logistics app? Well, in those countries, the buses just run before this app. They would just run. So sometimes they'd be full, sometimes they'd be empty. Half the time the drivers didn't know if somebody was there already.
Yeah.
But with this app, they could actually project out where to stop, when, and how many people would be ready for you. So how's that doubling the income? Well, if you know if you can get to your job at a certain time, you can you can increase your income. The bus drivers can work, get full buses, they can increase their income.
Yeah.
The people who operate the buses, meaning the owners, they could double their income. Now, this just starts in Kenya. Are there other countries, even in the United States, that could use this? Yep. And so they're actually scaling out of Kenya to the other areas that are emerging markets to do this same thing. We could even do that in Richmond, Indiana, couldn't we?
Yeah, there's no really Uber. I think there's one Uber driver in Richmond, Indiana.
So you could do this same application. You could do it in places in the United States as well.
Yeah, that's crazy that you can do it all across different markets and areas and economies and stuff like that.
Yep.
So your position here at Earlham's not strictly working with entrepreneurship and innovation. You also teach classes here.
Yeah.
Would you like to go into a little detail about what classes they are and what you teach in those classes?
So the two main ones that I brought to Earlham as part of the EPIC experience and also the restructuring of the global management program, one was entrepreneurial marketing. And so what that class actually does is take entrepreneurship and marketing and merges it. In the marketing side, we use the 20th century traditional marketing, 4 Ps. But what has changed since the technology has changed, where you got the World Wide Web? The consumer is in charge versus us throwing out a net.
Yeah.
So now we have the 4 Ps and the 4 Cs. So this class actually teaches you how to leverage as an entrepreneur the traditional marketing, 21st century marketing, with the mindset of an entrepreneur. So the students actually do cases. At the end, we have speakers who come in. The speakers tell them about their business model. But one of the group activities for that class is that your group has to invent 2 new revolutionary inventions using marketing techniques for this particular company or not-for-profit.
Yeah.
And you can just imagine the ideas and the construction. Then the other class is what we call the Innovation Lab, because it's Earlham without it. Yeah. So you got that one already. So this one is one where students come in with an idea. They usually work within teams, and this one actually uses the business model canvas approach to building lean startup. And so this one actually lets a student take this idea, go through the various components of the business model canvas, and figure out, is this a really good idea? What components need to be tweaked so that they can say, do I pivot? Meaning, oh, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
Or do I need to tweak it? Or do I proceed to commercialization? So Notabot is a great example. This was a team that came in. There was a team of about 10 or 11 students.
Yeah.
It was an application, a web-based application. They took the business model canvas, used it, leveraged it all the way out, and actually started a business from this. So you can actually start a business from this, or you can say, hey, let me put it on the shelf. I got to graduate. I'll come back to this later. So this is taking theory to practice again, real world stuff.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite parts of talking with you or being in a class with you is that you like to take theory to practice, which really helps students get the experience of the real world. per se.
As undergrads.
Yeah, for sure, which is awesome. So let's go back a few decades. So how did you hear about Earlham before you came here as a student?
All right, so going back now, I just did my 45th reunion, by the way. That's more than a couple decades. So I went to a Catholic military all-boy prep school. In the 60s. I graduated in 73. So at that time, Vietnam was going on, etc. I could have gone from this Catholic military all-boy prep school right to the academies. But decided not to do that because of all the various turmoil and racial inequality, etc. So my dad was a college coach, by the way, in Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
And so my mom said, you're not going to play for your dad. For a lot of reasons, as you can imagine. It would have been a big man on campus and the big head and all that cool stuff, and my mom would have killed us. So my mom said, I want you to look at other schools outside of Atlanta. I did pretty well on the standardized test. So I got a number of offers from a bunch of colleges in this area, Earlham, Hiram, Wittenberg. So I came up to visit Earlham, and it was my graduating class was 69 students, right?
Wow.
So I was very comfortable with the Earlham. I didn't know much about Quakers, but I did know I liked the environment. Everybody was very informal, although it took me about 6 months to quit calling the professors sir and Mr. and professor. It took me about 6 months. I wouldn't even walk across the grass. I stayed on the sidewalk. So when it came down to it, I said, I kind of like this environment. Wittenberg is a bigger school. Nice people, but bigger school. Hiram is similar, but kind of didn't feel it. So I decided, and I almost went to Springfield College, where basketball was invented in Massachusetts, right? And so too cold. So I said, screw that. And so I came up to Earlham and liked it. Then I met this young lady girlfriend, freshman year of college. We met over those winters. It's a lot colder here than it is in Atlanta. That kept me here. So that's kind of how I got here, and that's why I stayed.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because most of the people that I know usually go to smaller high schools and then come here because they like the small aspect. And for me personally, I went to a school that had over 1,000 people, and we had 800 in each class. So it's definitely a way different experience, but it's definitely nice to have the small knit community here at Earlham.
So that's why.
Why would you say, or what would you say to students coming to Earlham, why they should choose it?
So several reasons. One, Earlham is a top tier liberal arts school. So we have national rankings. We have rankings all over the place on innovation, being in innovative classrooms, recognized by our faculty. But our students are kicking butt. So if you look at what the alumni has done that graduate from Earlham, we have 2 Nobel Prize winners. Margaret Hamilton got the President's Award, Medal of Honor Award for her work in computer science back from the 50s. Team Magic Bus, on and on and on. So this environment can help you grow and be transformative. So I often say Earlham is a top-tier liberal arts school with 21st century innovation that takes your passion, ideas, and ideals into action. And when you say that to a student who's kind of got it focused, and their parents hear that, they go, "We got to talk to these people." So that's kind of what I would tell a student, potential student.
So would you say that the college has improved, or what has changed since you were a student here compared to now?
Okay, so that's a good question. So what has stayed the same is the values, because it's Quaker. So I love the respect for persons. I love the respect for simplicity, the community aspect. Love that. Integrity. That's pretty cool. So that hasn't changed, right? So what has changed is refocused itself on less of saying, I need you to learn more about philosophy, right? Yes, you still need to know philosophy and history, but you also want to follow your passions. So with Epic and the whole layering of Epic within the curriculum, that is said, to Generation Z folks, I know I got to learn philosophy. Okay, I'll do that, because at the end of the day, I know what is going to help me with a meaningful career, and that integration, Epic, is what's going to get me there.
Yeah, for sure. So when we're talking about Earlham, and you mentioned how prospective students want to come here because of the extraordinary teaching and academics here, how would you say you contribute to that on campus?
That's a great question. So first of all, I don't have a PhD in an academic sense.
Yeah.
But I have a PhD in life. And so my students kind of know that when I'm teaching or something, I'm bringing that wealth of experience from 40 plus years into the classroom. And so I think that's the value add that I bring. They're going to get the concepts, but at the same time, they're not idle concepts. They're really grounded in, okay, here's how this issue might pop up. I want you to think about that. And so that's kind of what I bring to the party from a teaching perspective. I think I have a little bit of energy. So I have 8:30 classes. Nobody goes to sleep. So, that kind of, so I have the energy. I got a good grasp of concepts. And at the same time, I bring a real world expertise so people can I could do it that way. Or he's making me thinking about something that I'm not comfortable with, but I need to think through that. Yeah. And here's why. So I think that's what I bring to the classroom.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely like that about Earlham is that, so I'm actually a transfer from Huntington University in Fort Wayne, and the professors were really by the book and just theory, but coming here and having professors such as yourself and Seth also is real world expertise that comes in every single class or every time we talk to you guys, it's something that you guys can relate from the real world. So that really helps us man, we really need to learn this, we really need to think this way and stuff like that, which is really helpful.
Yep, thank you.
So what would you say is the faculty-student dynamics? So you said we have open doors policy.
Open doors, first name. Okay, is that a big deal or not? It helps to break down barriers because it makes people feel comfortable. I know I have an MBA. Seth knows he has a PhD. I don't have to walk around saying, guess what? I went to the University of Virginia, top 10 school. That's not what we're about. We're about, hey, we're working together. It's a community. So I think that's the dynamic that is a value proposition that a lot of students, not all students, but a lot of students respect. I think the other thing is open door policy is big, but what did I do last night? We had a volleyball match against the women's volleyball team. The faculty played against the women's volleyball team. Okay, so most of the time, you can't see us out there, but I have a tie on today. But I went out with my knee pads and my stuff. Now, back in the day, I weighed 140 pounds, 28-inch waist, big thighs, of course. But now I have a 36-inch waist. I just went and bought some new clothes. I weigh 180 pounds. I can't get up as quite as high. That wasn't the important thing. The fact is we were out there with the students in a different light, and they went, wow. So it's that dynamic as well. We know each other, students, faculty. We also know when you're not doing well, not feeling well, and we pick that up, which helps us build a community.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the cool things that I heard, I believe it was last weekend, the Spanish department actually went over to the Spanish house and had a little party and gathering
there.
Yep.
And that's not unusual. Back in the day, same thing. Faculty would do that. They would come over to the student, each other's houses. Not in a bad way. We're not trying to get in your space, but at the same time, it's just that nice community engagement piece.
Yeah, for sure. So we've touched on how you're energetic in class and how you like to do theory to practice during class, but what would you say your teaching style is? Because I know some professors like to go strictly by the PowerPoint or some like to go strictly by the book.
So my style is I need you to know the concepts, so you have to read in my class, but we don't just do what you read last night. So it's an interactive lecture, making sure that the concepts are there, but bringing the real world practice into effect. Again, we use a lot of cases. So that says I'm not just teaching you the concept. Here's a real case that I want you to analyze, because guess what? It's going to give you a foundation for when you become a manager. And you can say, I remember that case. Here's what I had to analyze, not just do, but analyze to get to the answer. And here's where the flaw was in the not-for-profit or the for-profit's strategy. Because they're not stupid people, but stuff happens. And so that can prepare you for when you become a manager. You can kind of go, I think I see this coming again, because history could repeat itself. Let me at least analyze that. And so that's my style. I'm going to challenge you to think. Don't just take what's in the book. argue a little bit.
Yeah.
I can play devil's advocate pretty well because I've been there. And then we go from there. Usually nobody falls asleep in class. Only 1 or 2 times where people actually looking at their phones when they shouldn't have been. Most of the time they know I'm moving. I'm a mover. I don't sit.
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of got to know where I am in the classroom too. So I think that's my style, if you will.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome. I've yet to have a class with you, but next semester I definitely plan on taking a class.
No problem. Just be ready.
So after all these years, you have extreme, insane amount of experience in the field, in business and everything like that. So why did you choose to come back to Earlham after so many years?
Great question. So originally I was going to be a social worker.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend/wife said, I'm not going to marry a social worker. I said, what do you want me to do? She said she wanted me to go into business. So I did for 30 years. I retired at age 48. Then the same wife said, you cannot stay down here in Florida and just be underneath me, etc. So then that's when we had our own business for a while. But that's when I first got an opportunity to be an adjunct professor at Broward Community College teaching intro to marketing. I went,
really?
Oh, I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah.
So then from there, Earlham asked me to come back the first time just in fundraising, but I did teach one class, life, living and learning community or something like that. Then didn't do it for a while. And then when I got to University of Dayton, the chair asked me to teach he was in an emergency situation, to teach entrepreneurial marketing. I said, do you have the syllabus in a book that I can look at? And he said, yeah. So then I crafted it, and that's when the students said, you're pretty good at this. Then I came back to Earlham, and in this current role, specifically to teach and to do the center. So I came back to give back. It's that social work piece, because they don't pay like they pay in corporate, not even close, and no bonuses. But it's to give back because somebody did that for us when we were coming up.
Yeah.
So it's the social work part coming out in me.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely take an interest in teaching just because of what you and other professors here at Earlham have done for me personally. And so that really changes my aspect on what my future career wants to be.
Well done. Proud of you, and thank you. That's why we're here.
And so you came back to Earlham, so you had to have some favorite parts about Richmond or favorite restaurants.
Okay, that's a different question.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, my wife and I have lived all over the world.
Yeah.
So I can go any place and have fun. My wife is not the same. And she's a Hoosier from Kokomo, Indiana.
Yeah.
Hates Indiana. Hates Richmond. That's it. So we live in Englewood, Ohio. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that said, though, the question was about me. And so I'm having fun just getting out and about. But you said my 2 favorite restaurants. You ready? Tin Lizzie on Market Street, and Legends on, I think it's South 5th, right?
Yeah, I know Legends.
So why Tin Lizzie? It's a traditional diner, good value. So I go in and get the meatloaf, the chili dogs with onion, not if I have a meeting afterwards, but chili dogs with onion. And the people are real nice. It's just nice home. Why do I go to Legends? Sports bar.
Yeah.
And so I can't drink during the day. After 5 o'clock I can drink.
Yeah.
So I don't drink. But the sports bar food is quite good.
Yeah.
Right? And so I go in and get the fish sandwich. I get the chili with onion if I don't have a meeting without onion. And then what else do I get famous? Oh, this is all fried now, right? So that's not good for you, but at the same time I'm doing that. The shrimp and fish.
Oh,
Okay. Now, notice I said this is all fried because it's sports bar.
Yeah.
So you can't do this every day, right? The other 2 I like are Thai Terra because of my international experience, and Gulzars.
Oh, Gulzars,
so Thai, right? So Thai because of Thai food, and Gulzars is just good Indian.
Yeah.
So I have 5 that I really like, and then on occasion I'll go down to the barbecue place down by the depot. The fireman's place. Yeah. So I'll go down there. But see, you can't eat that, at least I can't eat ribs in public because you got to use your hands and stuff. So I get the salad with the barbecue.
Yeah.
So I can eat that. So it's about 5 of them that I like a lot.
Yeah, I definitely have to try. What was the first one called again?
Okay, Tin Lizzie. It's on Main Street, right by the Innovation Center. It's only open Monday through Friday, though. So Saturday, your school, you can get breakfast, and then they stay open till like 2.
Yeah.
So and the prices are right. Yeah. And just nice people, just good, honest people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Tin Lizzy,
awesome.
Tinlizzy.
Yeah, that's the only one I haven't been to, so I have to try it sometime. So I was doing a little research on you, obviously, before this.
That's scary.
And I found something amazing that you do with the community, and it's called Amigos. And I was wondering if you could go in a little detail for...
So Amigos was started by Howard and Patty Lamson maybe 15 or 20 years ago. It started originally because you were getting the migration of the primarily Mexican immigrants coming up for work.
Yeah.
Then gradually the Mexican immigrants stayed and started establishing families and neighborhoods. Well, they had special needs like, okay, you got to learn English. How do I go to the hospital and negotiate all these crazy medical fees?
Yeah.
So they started it. So when I got involved, they asked me to be on the board, and they asked me something like, well, what do you bring to the party? Because, I've lived in Mexico, I speak Spanish, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, in Pittsburgh, we started this cool thing where we taught kids how to play tennis for free. And these are primarily Latino kids who've never seen a tennis racket. What do they play? Soccer and basketball, maybe baseball, but no tennis.
Yeah.
So we gave them through the USTA. The quick start method uses low compression balls, right size rackets. I think we went from ages 8 to 13. These kids had never played tennis before. So we got a bunch of volunteers, taught them, the basic strokes, and it was for fun.
Yeah.
But we wanted them to pick up the game. So fast forward to 2 years ago. Two of these kids who had never picked up a racket, didn't even know what a tennis ball, made the Richmond High School JV team.
Wow.
They kicked butt, won all of their matches. Now, they're now on the varsity, kicking butt, taking it. So it's easy to take kids who've never been exposed. That's what I'm all about, exposure to stuff like I play classical piano, drums, sports. Why? Because my mom made me go. And then I go, oh, this is pretty cool. The same thing. Expose kids, you never know what that passion is going to do. So Amigos, after that, started the violin classes. So they have kids who never picked up a musical instrument, much less a violin. They just did recitals with the Richmond Symphony.
Wow.
So that's the kind of stuff they do at Amigos. And then they have a huge fundraiser, which you might want to go to, which every year is at the Forest Hills Country Club.
Yeah.
The first year was Cuba. And Pavel, who's a professor here, but known all over the world for his music, brought his group in. The place was sold out. And so this last one was Brazil. So they had Brazilian dancers.
Wow.
Same thing. So they do a lot of stuff to bring the total community together.
Yeah.
And you can check Facebook. It was one of the biggest parties successful parties that Richmond has ever had. And it was the whole community coming together.
Wow.
Not just the Latinos, not just the Brazilians, the whole community. So that's what Amigos is all about.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, giving back, that's social work coming out again.
All right, so this is going to be my last question before we get to the rapid fire questions, which is a little
I thought
fun
we were done.
way we can end it.
Okay.
But what advice would you give any student at Earlham or prospective student coming to Earlham?
Okay, so first of all, there's a ton of stuff to do. So try anything. Try everything. What sport do you play?
Golf.
Thank you. So you're a golfer, right? Hopefully you're not limiting that. You're going to the plays. You're going to the cultural stuff. You're hanging out with people that don't look like you.
Yeah.
That's Earlham. We have how much diversity? Over 60 different countries?
Yeah. It's
and some of them like to party.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right? And so, experience other things. So that's the first thing. Get out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to go up to somebody who doesn't look like you and say, hey, can I chat? I'm in Spanish class. I'm struggling with Spanish. Can you help me?
Yeah.
Boom. Things like that. So that's the first thing. Then we have all these co-curricular activities. Yeah, you got to go to school. Yeah, you're going to play golf. But we have the Earlham Earlham Prize for Creative Capitalism. We're launching a new one called the Earlham Epic Grand Challenge, which is going to be spectacular. It's even bigger than the Earlham Prize for Creative Capitalism. Davis Peace Prize, on and on and on. Just experiment a little bit. Try it.
Yeah.
Get out of your... And that's what Earlham's all about anyway, being morally sensitive leaders eventually. So try stuff.
That's the one regret I have about being here is so I transferred in and just stuck with the people I knew my first year, which was probably a mistake on my part, or definitely a mistake on my part, because now I'm a senior and I'm like, dang, I missed out on all these opportunities and everything like that. So yeah, that's definitely one thing I would say as well.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're gonna hit on these rapid fire questions, which I thought would be a good chance for people to know a little more about you and a little unprofessional side, I guess we can say.
Yeah, but not too unprofessional, because I have a brand to uphold.
Yeah.
Okay, don't ambush me.
All right. So what would you say your favorite sport is?
Now it's tennis.
Tennis, yeah. Favorite business professional / entrepreneur?
Okay, I go to Atlanta, and if you remember back in the segregated days of Atlanta, Atlanta was a thriving community. It still is. But a lot of black professionals came out of that. So there was a group called Pascal's. The chicken is just delicious. So they started out as a little hole in the wall, but now they have a beautiful restaurant. And the other one is Herman Russell. Have you been to the Atlanta airport?
Yes, I have.
Herman Russell, black entrepreneur, construction guy, helped build most of that.
Wow.
So so I look to Atlanta a lot for entrepreneurial stuff. The Atlanta Life thing. So on banks. A lot of black entrepreneurs came out of Atlanta, so that was kind of like somewhat of a role model, because you could, in that community, a segregated community, you could have a nice lifestyle as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's awesome. So who would you say your favorite professor at Earlham is? And if you don't want to,
no, I got it.
Okay.
Are you ready? You ready?
Yeah.
Nelson Bingham.
Okay.
So Nelson has been around forever, right? I think he came shortly after I graduated. But Nelson is just a cool dude. He's Quaker. First generation, I found out.
Really?
So Quaker, first gen, teaches in the psychology department. So you kind of got to watch those psych people. They're always analyzing. But he's just a cool dude. And he's a great professor from the curricular side.
Yeah.
But did you know that he was the voice of Earlham football forever?
No,
as a
I did not know that.
As a provost, and then he was interim president. He was also the voice of Earlham football at the stadium. So just a cool dude.
Yeah.
And so, but just and he's one of my. I think he's a formal mentor, because I came back to teach. He was assigned to me as a mentor. But he's definitely an informal mentor. So I'm going to say Nelson Bingham.
That's awesome. Let's go with favorite type of student.
Okay, you ready? All right. So favorite type is going to be all on the positive side. Intellectually curious. Willing to take risk, meaning, okay, I came with one perspective, but I'm willing to listen to somebody else and come up with a different perspective. Proactive. If you're in my class, you're just not going to sit there. I need people to engage. And then people who embrace diversity, right? When I start my classes, the diversity of classrooms, I always start the morning or afternoon salutation in their native language. And at the end of each semester, almost everybody in the class is helping me with the salutation.
Wow.
So people who embrace diversity.
Yeah.
I think... I would go with those. That's my favorite students.
If you had one thing to change at Earlham or Richmond or both, what would it be?
Oh, okay, so that's two good questions. Earlham or Richmond? Okay, so I'm a marketing guy. You see all the awards and stuff like that. Earlham has to get the message. Tell people about this message. There's a great thing going on here with the students, the faculty, the overall Earlham experience. We need to change how we go to market with the messaging, because we can kick butt. We don't have to back up from anybody. The students don't have to back up. Faculty, the stuff that's going on here is world class.
Yeah.
And I've been all over the world, so I can get away with it. Okay, so you'll like this one then. The other question was Richmond. So and we're doing this, people need to make space for each other, right? Earlham students need to get out in the Richmond community and vice versa. So for Richmond, increasingly we're finding people who make a space for Earlham students and faculty to actually have ideas. And they don't see us as threatening, right? So we're creating this new challenge called the Earlham Epic Grand Challenge, and you'll see it launched within the next month. But it's an opportunity for Earlham students, faculty, and staff to help solve some of the wicked social and economic problems in Richmond, and vice versa. Fort Wayne County is a new organization started by the Wayne County Foundation to create this space for Earlham to actually come in and help. We're not coming in and tell you what to do, but help help solve some of the wicked economic and social problems.
Wow.
We bring those two together.
Mm-hmm.
I think the challenge says something like we want to impact the quality of life for 25,000 people in Wayne County by 2025. If we can raise those bottom 25,000 up, the whole tide comes up and the whole ship comes up. Richmond's better off.
Yeah.
And we'll be a part of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep. So that's it. Yep.
Earlham's new athletics logo. Do you have any thoughts?
Oh, I loved
on
it.
that?
Okay, all right. That is too cool, and I'm a marketing guy as well.
Yeah.
All right. So what I liked about it was the symbolism of EC and the inner light.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know cheers about that kill people in the inner.
Yeah.
That's not. But this whole concept of the inner light, double entendre.
Mm-hmm.
So athletes in particular having that inner that I can win, right? And the overall how it transfers over to the overall community, inner light. We can do this. We're a community. I thought it was quite cool.
Yeah.
I wish I'd come up with that one. Who came up with that one?
I have no idea,
Neither.
but there was probably I think there was about 10 or 12 original drawings
For sure.
that they had, and definitely that one's by far my favorite.
That nailed it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but nobody's giving me a shirt, by the way. Do you have any influence?
I think I can make my way.
Just give me me at least one shirt. I got other swag, but that one's quite cool.
All right, well, thank you so much, Gene.
It was a pleasure. Good luck on your project.
Thank you to Gene Hambrick for being part of the podcast. Be sure to check out the Earlham College podcast on SoundCloud and at earlham.edu/podcast. I'm Nathan Mynatt, and I'll see you next time.